Hello, my dear friend. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. I wanted to put together a short review for you of the movie that I had a chance to see yesterday called His Only Son. And the movie is the story of Abraham and his relationship with his son. As you know, the story from Genesis, and he was called to to sacrifice a 3 days journey, and it follows his experiences through that. And I just thought I'd give a brief review, letting whoever may see this uh, know that I thought it was just a superb movie, just really encouraging. I haven't seen a movie in a long time, and it just really, really, really touched my soul in many different ways. Um, and so that's it. I mean, that's my review. I highly recommend it. I think it's great. I think you'll enjoy it. But I'd like to go into more detail if you have some time. I just want to share a few points about it without any spoiler alerts. I mean, no spoiler alerts because you know the story from Genesis, right? But um, a couple of scenes that stood out to me, and a couple of aspects of it that really encouraged me. One is the actual production of the movie itself. The actors were fantastic. All of the actors I thought were superb, and in particular, the actor they chose to play the part of Abraham was just, superb, spot on. And then the what they call the cinematography, the actual scenes, they said it was made on a shoestring budget, but the scenes of the stars in the sky, the desert scapes, the mist, the fog, and very simple, the lighting, sitting around a fire, and just amazing feeling of what it might be like to live in a society at that time. No internet, no electricity, no running water, essentially living your life outdoors, and then, living in a tent. There's a lot of people out there that are very familiar with living their life that way right now, actually. Um, but yeah, just that totally, mind you, they're in the city. This is in the wilderness, right? So there you go. There's that part of it that I thought was super powerful. And there was one part in the movie that jumped out at me. There's a scene where, well, there's a number of parts that jumped out at me, but there was a scene where Abraham is talking with his friends, his colleagues that are with him there at the time. They're sitting around a fire, and he says, um, "I don't deserve the favor of God." And the guy is arguing with him. He says, "What do you mean you don't deserve the favor?" He says, "Like it's easy for you to say because you've already earned the favor of God. God is with you. He's guiding you. He's appeared to you, a number of times, and so on." And Abraham says, "Nobody deserves the favor of God." And the hardest part that I had about watching this movie, to be honest with you, was that I had to, my stomach was like wanting to go, when you sob deeply, like I was crying through the whole movie, basically. I had a paper towel with me so that I could just wipe the tears off my face. But there were times where I couldn't actually watch the movie because I started to, my body was shaking and I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of a movie by sobbing out loud. But it reminded me of the experience that I had in my life. And that was in 2015 when I sought the Lord with all my heart. I was going through a very difficult time. I was suffering many different ways, mentally, psychologically, physically, and I had sought the Lord. And the way that I could describe it for you, my friend, I want to describe it for you because I don't know if other people out there have had similar experiences. Maybe there's people out there that have similar experiences to Abraham. I don't know. But the way that I described it at the time was that, let's say Abraham saw the page open and God appeared to him in person, right? If it was like turning a page or lifting a page up, the way that I experienced it in 2015 was that as if God just lifted the corner at ever so a fractional tiny bit, because it all happened in my mind, right? In my psyche. And I understand how fragile the psyche can be. and I'll mention that in a second. And he just lifted the corner, and at that time, that was so devastating to me that I was in a fetal position, wailing uncontrollably. See, throughout my life, I had this reliance upon myself. I had trained in martial arts my entire life, and I kind of had this subconscious self-reliance. I thought, oh, I can take care of myself. I'm strong. I'm this. I can do, all this. I had this physicality to my character, I suppose, that was totally wiped away. And since then, obviously, my physical uh, body has totally wasted away since then. Not totally, but you know what I mean. And I also realized at the time the fragility of my psyche. And so that scene in the movie where Abraham says, nobody deserves the favor of God, but he also he says, we are all blinded until we can see. And he mentioned that in the movie, and I said, yes, wow, it's such a powerful statement. We are all blind until we can see. And when you get that revelation of the holiness and the majesty of God, that we are unable to stand in his presence, that we are unable to compare ourselves to that holiness and majesty of God that is so beyond the human state, that it brings I don't know if it's a humility, but it brings a breaking of one's soul and psyche in a way that can allow one to essentially be put back together in a different state than prior to that time. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. And so I wanted to mention that about the fragility of the psyche. If you want to see somebody that has a broken psyche, I also watch a channel called Soft White Underbelly. It's very discouraging. You got to be careful if you're going to watch that channel on YouTube, but it is an eye opener. And look up a character by the name of Rebecca, and this character has a fragmented psyche. And when your psyche breaks, it's like you take a porcelain container and you drop it on the floor and it shatters into a million pieces. Now you can put that back together, but it's going to take a miracle, right? It's going to be very painstaking. It's going to take a lot of time. And I feel like that my psyche got shattered, not to that extent, but pretty close, right? And miraculously, God was able to repair my mind. And so yeah, if you want to see somebody that has a fractured psyche, you'll see what I mean when you see that, because they're unable to function in society normally, productively, with a clear, lucent awareness of their potentiality, capability, and so on and so forth. You'll know what I mean. And so I just thought I'd mention that because the movie is very stirring, very, very inspiring. And not only that, one other thing I'd like to mention before I go about the movie, His Only Son, is that it is a universal in scope. It shares with the viewer whether they are Christian, Jewish, or Muslim. Now, of course, it's a Christian movie because of the bias and motivations, not bias, but motivations of the producer and so on, and some of the specific scenes. But it is very heartfelt towards, all the actors are Middle Eastern, and that, I think, contributes to the authenticity of the universal message of Abraham as the patriarch of the three Abrahamic religions, if you want to call it that, right? So Islam, Judaism, and Christianity all look to Abraham as a patriarch. And that comes through in the movie really, really well, I thought. And I just pray that many people from those three global religions will have the opportunity to see that movie and be inspired by it, and to be motivated by it. So I will leave it at that, and just encourage you, if you do get a chance to see that movie, I hope you're able to see it, or bring a friend to see it. I don't know how other people will respond to it. I really don't know, because for me, it was so powerful that I don't think that would be normal for the average viewer. The average viewer might just see it as a encouraging, inspiring, authentic story, a recreation, a retelling of the life of Abraham, and be very inspired by it. And in different ways, some people would relate very much to Sarah and the struggle that she went through of so many years, of waiting, and then the situation with her husband, and the situation with her handmaiden, and the situation with, wanting to have a child, and so on and so forth. But I'll leave that. Great movie. I hope you do get a chance to see it. And if you do, I know you'll be blessed by it. So thank you so much for watching. God bless you. I love you very much. We'll talk to you again real soon. Okay? Bye-bye now.